Okay, I've become rather enamored of prose poetry lately, so my poems kind of read like stories a little bit. And I have two new poems that I did write in January of 2011, but I have one that I cheated, and it's like October, so I'm assuming that's okay. Of course, I didn't have to tell you that. But anyway, okay. The first poem was inspired by, if you've ever seen at the iDrum, or I think now it's at, I forget the gallery, but anyway, it's in Virginia Highlands, and they have the coffins, the handmade coffins, the Day of the Dead coffins, and I bought one of them. It's like $100, and I was like, yes. And it has these little skeletons coming out of it. It's really cool. So this poem was inspired by that. It's called A Brief History of the Deconstruction of Time. The devil waves his magic wand, and 3 miniature skeletons resting in an oversized coffin dance to life. The skeletons leave the coffin in search of happiness. The first skeleton climbs a ladder made of smoke. The second skeleton jumps up a rope made of sleep. The third skeleton scales the coffin using his bare hands. The first skeleton wants to keep climbing to the moon. The second skeleton desires to feel the rain on her face. The third skeleton aspires to attain equilibrium. The first skeleton says to the second skeleton, "If you come with me, you can bathe in the tears from the moon." The second skeleton says to the third skeleton, "If you come with me, you can drink the tears from the moon." So the 3 skeletons climb the ladder of smoke all the way up to the moon. It takes them 666 hours, divided by 2 with a square root of 3. The first skeleton lies down on the moon to rest. The moon begins to cry quietly. The second skeleton bathes her face in the moon's weeping. The third skeleton imbibes a goblet of the moon's tears. The moon, dried of her tears, dissolves into a cloud, and the skeletons fall back to earth. The first skeleton's bones splinter into tiny luminous globes. The second skeleton's bones melt into mist. The third skeleton's bones assemble themselves into a ladder that he scales in his sleep all the way up to the sky. There he meets the devil, resting in a coffin made of clouds, waving his smoke-filled wand as the moon dances back to life. Okay, the next one, this poem is pretty weird, but if you know anything about Basquiat, Jean-Michel Basquiat, the artist from the 80s, and if you know anything about Hieronymus Bosch, those are 2 of my favorite artists among many. Anyway, I just was envisioning them meeting at some point. So anyway, it's called When Basquiat Met Bosch. When Basquiat met Bosch, the 2 smeared castle walls with graffiti of sci-fi monsters fornicating in the garden of street art delights. When Basquiat met Bosch, the 2 decorated the fortresses of hell with triptychs of Crayola hieroglyphics. Tiny chimeras emerged from broken shells as the pair worked into a cloudless night, reeling with tag-laden subway trains. When Basquiat met Bosch, they played medieval jazz in cozy cafes, where poets spouted rhymes about a vindictive god and the 7 deadly sins. The revelers suppressed their carnal appetites and went home to their Bruegel towers underground. When Basquiat met Bosch, Bosch spray-painted stick figures and skulls playing saxophones onto Brooklyn bridges, while Basquiat scrawled Charlie Parker musical notes into parchment Bibles. Basquiat died from an overdose of Hieronymus, and Bosch proclaimed, "Samo is dead." All right, this last one is, those 2 have been sent out to publications, and I'm awaiting to see if they'll be published somewhere eventually. Anyway, the next one is going to be published at a magazine called Black Heart Magazine, which is a really good online magazine. It's called I Want to Be a Surrealist Painting, and this is not a prose poem. I want to be a surrealist painting. I want to have flowers for fangs. I want to exist only as the aborted shadow of your shrieking eyes. I want to be a pop art painting. I want to be replicated for 15 minutes in the form of a Campbell's tomato soup can going rat-a-tat-tat. I want to lick 10 steins. I want to be a Rodin sculpture. I want to be eternally kissed under the gates of hell. I want to exist as the shadow of a kiss for the first 15 minutes of a replicated eternity. And that's it.